so I mean, I guess where I'm going with that is it's kind of difficult for me to find something that's like plug and play. So I've just sort of, I don't know, I'm just learning as much as I can and trying to get going by the beginning of next year. And yeah, I'm working actually on a FAQ section right now. So this is perfect timing. So I think you'll probably answer questions that I might have that I don't realize I have.
No, you don't have to. Do you mind sharing what your directory is, or take a look at it live with you, or help you out, or look at anything, or you don't have to, but want to take a look at it.
I don't think we can really get too much. It's in staging right now.
Okay.
But you could go to. I'm trying to think of what URL would be. Let's see.
Did you connect your domain yet?
Yeah.
You did? Okay.
So it's directory, like just directory, add a U in there, .com.
Oh, and, like TOURY?
Yeah, TOURY, yeah.
Nice. Directory. I like that, actually. That's a great that's a great play on words there. I was just going over some jokes with my son the other day. He's 6, almost 7, and we were asking Alexa for some jokes, and they were all play on words and everything, and he didn't understand any of the jokes, and we thought they were funny or somewhat funny, but he literally couldn't get it because it was just a spelling or something that would normally not be set up like that. And he was confused and he didn't understand it. But so it was items like that where it just didn't make sense to him.
Like, hey, that word is spelled wrong. Yeah.
So anyway, I like the name. It's very very direct, and it has your actual purpose inside it. So love it. It's great domain name. We'll go over the FAQs here in a second, because that's our topic of the day, and then we can kind of maybe help you out with that a little bit. Just some general comments, and again, do you mind me just throwing some stuff out at you, just based on my initial impression, or just stuff I see?
Yeah, no, of course, yeah.
Okay. So the thing, just be careful about having a huge square logo. The unfortunate thing about square logos look good on a lot of things, right? When you have your directory listing, for example, just go search. I'm not sure if you just have the sample ones in there, if you have anything in there. But you notice, obviously, the square logos look great on these systems and on other stuff, right? T-shirts, or they're just set up. Facebook is square. Instagram, all their stuff is square, so it looks good. It's hard to look really good on these directories because it's set up, at least on the homepage, to be more rectangular, that fit in the area. Oops, sorry about that.
Now, what page are you on? You're on the homepage right now.
Well, I was. Hold on.
Now, what I'm trying to figure out where you're what your. Sorry,
this is your page, right? So
yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I thought it was in staging mode. I didn't think that you could get to.
Well, it is. You can still get into it if you know how to do it. So it's not. So everybody else is just going to see that splash screen. So don't worry about it.
Well, this is just sort of. This isn't how I'm trying to get it. My logo is actually being worked right now to not have. To be a little bit more clear as to what is in the middle, and the whole design is actually not what it's gonna be.
Oh yeah, no worries. And I'm just throwing stuff out in case you wanted to have that, or just for other people that are watching, just for hints and tips. Obviously, I'm just letting you know it's hard to put a square logo in that. Just the default thing they have set up for the directory, so it's always set up for a rectangular. So sometimes. Especially if you have an object or something like that. Sometimes it's good to have maybe two versions of the logo, like a square one, and then have one, where that's off to the side or something like that, or like in place of the eye, or I don't know, something. But it's more rectangular. Where you move that over there, and then just it fits more in that rectangular block on a homepage.
I see what you're saying now. Oh, I get what you're saying now. Okay.
Yeah, because you just have a lot of white space, right? Just because the logo's you want it readable.
I couldn't figure out why it turned out like that. So I was like, because I switched my logo to something else. It was something else before, and it looks so much better. And it's all because of the square logo. So thank you, sir.
Yep. So you may, and again, some people don't want two logos. And then someone, some just like the square look. So like for mine, here's my local directory, just hudsonville.com for my local area here in Michigan. But I just decided to go with the rectangular logo just because it fit better on here. And that's what I ended up going with, but it's not square. For other potential purposes. And I'll be totally honest, like when I have, if I look on a search engine for mine, if it's in a square format, it doesn't look the best in a square format, right? But again, it is what it is on that. Some of these that are more, round or whatever, but most logos are kind of horizontal, right? This one's, square. But most of them are rectangular. So it's not like you're losing out or anybody. It doesn't really matter. It's 6 of one, half dozen the other. I'm just letting you know when sometimes when that's your entire page, just think about this. This is shown on every page. So if you want to, you're basically not wasting, but like half of the screen, at least on desktop of what I've got is the logo, and that may not be. You may want it smaller, just so you have more content when they start browsing some of the other pages.
Yeah, definitely.
So it looks like you've done some, it's a little bit of customizing here. Actually, this is the first time I've seen the pricing stuff inside of the main page.
It's not going to be there. No, it's not going to be there.
It's not necessarily bad, to be honest. It's actually interesting, interesting look to at least have the stuff on there, like boom, right in here, maybe what you do, and then, have some initial.
Right. Yeah.
But again, this is for people. This is basically the hero section, or on the homepage it is, set up with that where you're basically replacing the search engine. But this is like a hero section. You can actually do this little background with the H1 and H2 on any sub page as well, and then put whatever content you want inside of that hero banner at the top of any custom page inside of Brilliant Directory. So this look is doable on every page of your directory just by customizing. So we can go over that another time if anybody wants to see that. So great use of the categories. Obviously, these are always good. You want nice, good pictures here that are high quality. Sometimes I see people have images here that are pixelated or don't look good or don't make sense. Yours are nice, high resolution, so that those look good. One other thing I'll highlight here real quick, and I'm just gonna inspect this one. As well, just to, do you have the high resolution images in here, or did you make smaller images just for your category? Do you know?
I thought that you're supposed to put, because it said something like 228 to 256 pics or something like that.
Okay, you did put a smaller image in there? I
think so.
Okay, let me double check here for the food.
I think I downloaded a smaller one that I could get, or I don't, you know what? I've spent so many darn countless hours doing shit. I just don't even really know what I'm doing. No,
it's all good. So this is how big it is. It is. You do have a smaller one, so that's a good job. Sometimes when I see a high resolution photo and it looks really high resolution, this is actually a perfect example of what I normally tell people to do. Add an image that's a little bit larger than you want. So when it shrinks it down, it looks extra high res and doesn't get pixelated and looks good. So this is actually a great size. Usually about 500 pixels wide is usually a good size. And I'll show everybody why here in a second. So I'll see how big your image is here. So 630. So that's a great size. And the reason for that is there's a couple things that I will point out for everybody on these. Is the reason you don't want it full image and you want to respect those sizes that it asks you for is because when you load this page, it literally loads the images behind there when it loads the homepage. So every time a visitor loads your homepage, it is loading whatever size image for that category you have. And so if you have a 5,000 by 4,000 pixel image, it's going to shrink it down and look like exactly like this, but it's literally loading the 4,000 by 5,000 pixel image. And you're wasting 3 megabytes times 12 or however many you have here for every person that loads your homepage, not only does it waste your bandwidth, your storage, but it also loads your page slower. So you always want to have a smaller image for these category pictures as opposed to, you know, somewhere else like a banner, a big banner one like this, because it's going to eat your bandwidth and make your page slower. The other reason, though, that you want the higher, the bigger image, that, you know, the 500 to 600 wide, is because when you do these categories, you can do either 4, 3, or 2 wide. And so when you go to 2 wide, it actually makes it, you know, obviously, you know, kind of 1.5 times this size, and they're pretty big. But if you don't put that larger image that can satisfy a 2 by 2 or 2 side by side, you never have that option to do that later if you want. Just because the image is too small, it's going to expand it out, and it's going to look fuzzy or pixelated, and it kind of removes that option. Now, maybe you don't ever want to do that, and it's fine. But again, because of the fact that if it's just a little bit bigger and it shrinks it down and it looks nice and clear, there's no reason to me why you wouldn't have it in there, just so you have the option and it looks clearer when it shrinks it down a little bit. So you did a really good job of setting those images up. They're good images, and they're appropriate size because you followed those you know, suggestions or whatever. So I'm actually glad you put in that 500 instead of the 200 and whatever. I'd always recommend a little bit larger.
Yeah, because it didn't look good. I think some of those I'm gonna have to redo because I think some of them are actually a lot bit like 2,000 or something like that.
And it could be. I just picked one out, right? So maybe some of the other ones are bigger.
I want to say the fitness and wellness. We'll check that one for the heck of it.
Okay, the fitness and wellness.
I feel like that one's huge.
Oops.
Oh, maybe not.
Is it not?
Oh, I thought it said 350 by 1 or whatever.
Yeah, so it's a little bit bigger, right? But
so the bandwidth thing is, you know, what would be the biggest concern, though, huh?
Yeah, I think the bandwidth and just the page speed, right? Because it's slowing it down a little bit. Okay, and then you know, obviously you got slightly different colored footer vice the other one. If you want it to look seamless, I would make sure you have the exact same color. It's kind of a gray vice a white. Otherwise, if you're not trying to make it blend in exactly, then I'd probably make it a different color so you can see it. So it'd probably be, to me, either one. Either it's a seamless transition, or you make it.
Yeah, well, ultimately, I mean, I want this. I want one of those themes off of BD Blocks, like the Quasar theme or something. So it'll hopefully be nothing like this.
Yeah, all good.
I mean, do you do work like I've seen your name being mentioned a whole bunch with design work on some of those Facebook pages? Do you work with BD Blocks and help design pages like this?
To be honest, I mean, I have BD Blocks. I just haven't used it that much. I know some of the other developers, actually the one that you know, supports it or loads it, the Project Pat, who sells it basically. They exclusively use that for all theirs, you know, to develop those. I found that, and I'll be honest, out of the nearly 100 clients I have, everybody either has that and does their own thing because it is a pretty, you know, useful tool once they get it down and they just do it on their own, or they don't want to pay for that or do that, and they just have some smaller design stuff, and then they just have me do something right for them. So I don't use it that much just because it doesn't actually come up that often where somebody's like, hey, I bought BD Blocks. It's drag and drop, but I want you to go change it for me. I just haven't had that. So to answer your question, I could. It just doesn't come up that often.
Oh, okay. I was just curious because even though it's drag and drop, it is a little bit general design, like the just general design of stuff. I have a hard time with just like, you know, where to put this or what to say here, or, you know, how to change little things so it looks just like everything else, or, you know. Right.
Well, what I always tell people is that a lot of times it's not the look, it's about the functionality and or the processes or efficiency of your business, not what it looks like. because and I always bring Corey up on here because he's a great guy. Works has a BD directory and has been on the BD webinar before to kind of tout his system, but his is all about process and what he provides the customers, the leads that he generates for his customers working in his community. And, he ties in his Facebook group as well. But he's got a process down that he services his clients and they're happy. But as you can tell here, and I always do this when he probably wouldn't like me doing this, but I always show it just to prove a point. The demo Bootstrap one, like these default all-in-one themes, right? There's kind of brilliant directories. Here's the example of the all-in-one demo, right? You look at this one, right? And then you look at his, pretty much the same, right? He had his logo in there, and he's got his businesses at a video, but it's pretty plain overall. And I know he probably wants it to look different, but a little bit, and we have done some things, but he spent more time on the process and what he's doing for his customers than to not launch or do anything because he's trying to make it not look like a BD directory or like different than everybody else's, or spend a lot of time on the quote look and feel of it. Because there's most of the directories that do that end up not ever launching, but two, start focusing on stuff that really doesn't matter, and they actually don't have a good process, don't have a good product, et cetera, and they don't ever do anything, and they make very little money. Where he's killing it, doing month after month businesses that's increasing. So I just always toss that out to you every time. I mean, obviously, people that are using BD blocks want something different. Have the additional capability, but that there's like 3 or 4 templates on there. Just like there's less there than there are templates in BD, right? So obviously these will have a similar look, but if everybody used a BD blocks Quasar template, everyone would look like that, right? And so obviously a little bit of neater, cooler look maybe that you want, and that's fine. I would just tell you, don't get bogged down in trying to get the site looking exactly. I'd work just as hard or harder on your product, your efficiency, and what you're going to provide the client. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I appreciate the reminder of that because I hear it all the time on the webinars, actually, the BD ones, and I actually just put in for a ticket today because all my tinkering around, all my other pages, like my sidebars are just all jacked up, and so I put in for a request a couple hours ago to be switched over to the city directory theme or whatever it is, and
right. And so I'll just throw this out there for everybody watching or watching the replay here. If you go to demobootstrap.com, there's themes, and so you can pick one. And again, there's no difference in the actual solution or the BD product at this point. For switching between these, it's literally just changing the settings, the color, what's on the menu, what's not on the menu, and that kind of stuff. But it's at least a good launching point for your business. So go here, demobootstrap.com, find the theme. And so the one he's talking about, you're saying the city guide, right? And so this is more of a travel setup where it's got like food, restaurants, things to do, stuff like that. For obviously, if you don't live at the beach, that'd probably not be a good one. But you can swap those out. But it's generally got the stuff here to jump in right away with food, dining, services, things to do in accommodation, like a travel theme. And here's the example of what I was talking about of the that one we showed from yours originally. It has that 500, 600 wide. It looks great for a 2 wide, even, right? When it's that big, you have that flexibility. So
I see what you mean. Yeah. Now, how do you get maybe for a different time, but see how you hover over this and it goes all the way up to the top, and how do you get that stuff to like center so it looks nicer? Like,
yours not? Hold on, let me go back. I mean, your pages look fine. Like, where did you mess up on the sidebar? I guess while I'm here.
Oh, so like if you look at if you like view all, if you go up to the top and view all category, or however you can get to view all categories, and then it's just I've tinkered with so much stuff that I feel like I need to get some of it back.
Come back here. So you're talking about here when you go view all, or you took that off?
Yeah, there we go. So view all.
Where's the view all though? For the photo albums.
Oh no! Yeah, there was supposed to be one for. Never mind. I thought that was for.
I think you must have taken it off. So for everybody watching, again, you can customize all these streaming widgets on there in your back end, and you can turn that view all off if you don't want that to be open. Like if you don't want to highlight certain categories, you want everybody to see all of them. You just want to say for the view all categories.
That's kind of a perfect point of what one of my problems is then, because I just start clicking around. It's like I just kind of want some of the design things back. Oh, well, actually, yesterday on our talk, I had a talk with the lady at BD, and she helped me get one of the sidebars back on. But
okay,
this used to go all the way across the whole screen, and I couldn't. I have a hard time with the darn widgets and sidebars. See, I'm still trying to wrap my head around how to freaking do it. It's
okay. Let me go over that real quick. And so this is one of the things where I was going to go over on the webinar here today. There's actually, and somebody asked this in the forums here. So let me go back to the question here, and this kind of ties into what you were exactly talking about. And then I can answer that. Somebody had a question on, they just didn't know how the pages were set up. So let me go back to that real quick. Okay, so this is the question. Looks like Eunice had here. He said, "Hey, when I go to inspect on Chrome, I can see the code, and then I do some small changes in the inspector, and it shows me how the page will look like. My question is, where am I going to see that code in my web account to apply those changes? I tried to open some of the widget codes, but it's not the same, and he can't find it, and he doesn't know where the stuff's at. So, let me go to." I'll just demo exactly how this works for the BD directories. And so this may be new for somebody. We can kind of go over this and then jump in with any questions if you have them. So the way that the directory is set up is that it has obviously pages that you can make. So it has in the content, you can edit your web pages, and you can make a new web page. So I'm just going to open that up real quick, and we'll talk about a couple elements on that. Now, when we say make a new web page, it's not really making an entirely new page. It's basically making the content in the middle, in the main part of the page, and then it's going to wrap the common elements around it: the header, the footer, and then sidebar potentially if you are adding that stuff in there. So when you make this new web page, it has some stuff here. This is obviously the main content, and what you see is what you get in editor. It has this hero section, and this is new as of today. It used to be over on the side. It's now in the tab here. So if you want a hero section, and that's where I was pointing out with the image, with the H1, if you have some other content, you can turn that on, and then it basically, you can add an image, change where your H1 is and all the text settings and stuff like that, and a call to action button. And that's basically at the top of the page before the content. So that's what that is, and then it will show the content. This is new as well. The SEO settings used to be in the side as well. So now you can change all the SEO data for for your page there for the search engines. If you have any style sheets or whatever you want to show only on that page, but not for the entire site, you can put it there. If there's some sort of script or other header stuff that you want to put in there, that's for the head part. That would normally be for code and other kind of stuff. And then it also has a per page footer if you want specific stuff. And now this is at the bottom, obviously. It's going to show at the footer part of the main content, but it's still going to add the other footer content for the overall general site design in the bottom. And then obviously this is all the naming stuff. And then it does have some display stuff for the page. The header and footer will be added, but it also allows you to have or not have a sidebar. And so you can pick a sidebar from here, add that in there of which type you want. Obviously, if you make a custom sidebar, you can add a custom sidebar in there. And then you can say whether you want that on the right or the left. And then you can then edit the stuff that is normally there. So again, it's going to automatically add the header and footer so again, this is going to be off normally. So you have to basically tell it that you want to have the header and footer. Header links, main menu, the banner ad widgets. You can hide that per page as well. And then you can also make it full width, which just kind of gets rid of that side padding that's normally on the page. Like this, for instance, it normally have a little gap there before the content starts, but you can actually make it full width and make it go all the way over here to the side. And that's what that does. And then when you're done with that, then you save. and now that content is in there. However, that's for an actual page. Like if you have an actual dynamic page, and what I mean by that is, let me just go to the search results, for instance. This is a dynamic page that is, making this content in here. And so sometimes there may be something on here. You didn't make this page. It's just dynamically a search results page. And there's stuff on here that you're just going to have to edit in different places. It's not like you open up a page and just go edit the code. There's different elements that you have to edit in various parts in order for it to appear. So if you look at the code on this and you change something, like say for this phone number, and change the color or the size of the font, well, that may be in that button widget, but that may be a menu. That may be in a widget that's showing on a page, like just that little thing that's replicated. It may be in that widget, or it may be on a page that was custom made, and it may be actually in that page code. So it's not as easy as just go finding that and changing it. So what I want to show you guys on there, now that you have the kind of general page, just kind of talk about widgets and those sidebars and menus, and then forms real quick to kind of show you how that's all put together. So pages are just main content, but it also has these things called widgets. And so if you're familiar with the system, it has widgets, but let me just go in there real quick and talk to you about what those are. When you make a widget, this is basically a self-contained, it's almost like a custom page, but it's just like a box of content. And so this is a custom one I did for adding a date. And so I'm just going to go in there. And so it's basically a set of code that's just self-contained. It can have JavaScript, CSS, or HTML. And in this case, it's just CSS and JavaScript. There actually is no HTML. But it basically packages up that content into a widget that you can then call dynamically in other parts of the website. So it's basically a self-contained unit. And then it makes this little widget code for you, and you can copy it. And just by adding that little short code in somewhere, then adds this code dynamically into that content. So let me go back to the web pages that I just showed you. And I'm just going to make a new web page here and just kind of demo this one out for you on what that would do. So I'm going to make a new one. I'm just going to call it test date, right? Because I said it was the date widget. I'm just going to save that. And that, right now, if I have a new page after I save it and I go to visit that page, it's not going to be anything in there because I haven't added any content, I haven't added any data really. So if I go visit that page, right, and it loads, it's literally got all my stuff in it, and it's just blank. All right, like this is all the default header, all the default footer, and the content inside the web page is just nothing because it's blank. I haven't added anything. So now I've got that shortcode widget. I'm just going to type that custom date widget in here, and I'm going to save it. Now, this is the only thing that's ever going to show on this page is just the widget code, because that widget code is actually in that Toolbox Widget Manager I just showed you. The real code is in there. Now the system is just basically wherever you put that, it's replacing the code with that actual code in the widget. And so that's how that works. And so the cool thing about those widget codes are once you add it into a particular area, you can replicate that in any location that you put that widget code. So it kind of allows you to add a bunch of content in anywhere just by pasting in that widget code. And so I probably should have troubleshot that one ahead of time because that looks like that's not rendering. Maybe I didn't. It was one I didn't finish. But I think you get the idea. It basically renders that stuff in that spot. The other thing it has these things called Sidebar Manager. And so when I pick from the display settings, I say, hey, I want to load the member profile page, right? That's a particular sidebar that's going to do that. So let me add that in there, and I'm going to save that. This one I know will render. So when I added that sidebar in there, it didn't have a sidebar in there before, but because I picked it, it is now putting that particular sidebar in there with all the contents of that sidebar, whatever that is. And so it has these in the toolbox and sidebar manager. I use that member profile page, right? That's what I'm using. So here's all the ones for the sidebar, and you can actually make your own, or you can edit ones that are already in there. And when you go to edit these, that has actual widgets, right? that are in there, and you can drag and drop the widgets over here and put them wherever you want and drag and drop them around. And so you saw that one I had the 2 banner ads and that contact form. It's exactly what was rendered on that page. Let's say I wanted a different, widget in there. I would literally just drag it over, hit save, and now if I refresh that page, it's going to have that widget in that particular sidebar. So you can, yeah, go ahead.
Real quick on that. Now you put it in spot 2. Where, what is the position actually like?
Yeah, it just moves it up and down. So if I put that there, it's going to be at the top.
Right? Top of the page.
Yeah, it's going to render, right here instead of now it's going to be above that banner ad, right? So whatever I just drug in there, it's going to shove that down and put whatever.
Oh. Now, so you can fit how many sidebars could you fit on top of each other over and over and over?
Well, it's just widget. I mean, yeah, I can drag and drop all day long, right?
Oh, so you could just put as many as you want, and they just go on top of each other on the page in that order?
Yeah.
Oh. Jeez.
So, yeah, and then you would. So again, these are widgets. So let's just use for example this. These are obviously you don't want every widget to go in here, so some of them aren't formatted correctly and won't look good. But let's say that lead map, right? Let's say that widget. Well, that if you want to edit that widget, so this is what I was getting to before. It may be in your sidebar that you did that, but it's really a widget in the sidebar, if that makes sense. So now let's say you wanted to change something in the lead map, you'd actually have to go into the code and edit that lead map, that contact member lead map, right? That's that widget that we were pulled over there. And now if you want to change the code, it's not in a page, it's not in the sidebar, it's actually in a widget code here, and you maybe need to go change something in here. And so, you got to be careful on this, obviously, because if you change something in here, it's gonna effectively change it, and then it's gonna mess up your site potentially. So you got to be careful. But that's where you would change the HTML. It's not in a big long block of editable HTML for your page. It's broken up into widgets and other segments, and you have to go find that widget that's put on the page. In order to edit that, because like I showed you on that content, it could just have a bunch of these shortcodes in there. It's going to say widget bootstrap that, widget this, widget that, and that's what's on the page. But you have to actually go and find the widget that you're trying to edit and change the code in that particular widget. So that kind of comes full circle on what I was trying to originally say, is that it's not in one big long code list. It's broken down into these pieces, the widgets. The widgets that are in the sidebars, the sidebar that you add to the page, and that's how it's kind of broken down. So if I go back to your page again, this join our newsletter is a widget, right? Which then gets added to a sidebar, right? This whole thing, which then gets turned on for the sidebar gets turned on for the search results page. And then you have your entire page rendered on the site, and so it's a little bit hard to understand initially, but once you get it, like, oh, these are widgets. There's 3 widgets on a sidebar turned on for a page. It becomes really really easy, and it also makes it very dynamic, where you can have obviously. For any particular page, you can have different sidebars. For any sidebars, you can have custom sidebars that have different widgets in it. And so on every single page or post type, you can have unique content, because you can create new widgets, you can create new sidebars, and then create new pages. So it's very very dynamic and system. It just takes a little bit to know how to execute it.
Yeah. I feel like once it finally clicks, that's when the creativity and application to my niche will, finally just blossom.
Yeah.
Like.
Great. Hey, Rich. I know you're off comm there, so welcome. So what I'm going to do then, actually, I know, Bradley, you said you had questions about the FAQ, so I'm just going to go into the discussion on the FAQ. and then we'll get to a live view, and I'll kind of talk about stuff that you can do on your actual site right away, and then we'll do some live stuff on there for you when we get to that section. And obviously, Rich, Frank, or everybody else who's online here, if you want to jump in with any questions as I go, feel free to do that. So today we're going to go over welcome to directory webinar number 17 for those that are on the replay. Today we're going to go over customer support to help you solve problems and gain customers for your particular directory. One of the things I want to do before I go into that real quick is just kind of do some housekeeping stuff on some things that we had mentioned before, and I'd sent out a newsletter to people that have frequented the webinar here. I just want to give some background on some of that stuff. As the people that participated in the survey, just to let everybody know, what I did a couple weeks ago was send out a survey asking if we wanted to redo when the webinar was to see if this 1:30 to 3:30 time frame was a good time frame for everybody. And so what I actually utilized for that, and I went over this a couple webinars ago in case anybody took the survey and was wondering what I used to do that. I did use the Feedier feedback and form software that we went over, and I do have a video for that, and that is available for purchase on the directorytoolkit.com if you guys are interested in that. But that is what I used. And just as a reminder, again, it's up on directorytoolkit.com Feedier. And the system that is normally $120 a month, again, is still available at a $30 a month pricing for me on Directory Toolkit. So anybody watching who wants to go look at that, feel free to do that. That is still available. What I did at the beginning of the survey was I added one question on there just to kind of get a feedback from everybody on how they like the webinar or the actual series here, and how likely they would actually recommend it to somebody else. And so we went over this in the feedback survey a little bit as well, but I kind of set that up as a net promoter score kind of scale of 1 to 10. And we went over that in before, but basically what it allows me, to do when people respond back to that is to see whether they're a detractor, a passive person, or a promoter of my particular site or directory. And obviously, and this averages it out across the board to kind of get a net promoter score for your particular service. And so I was able to do that, and I'll show you exactly. I'll do the open kimono there to kind of show you what everybody got or I got back from everybody, just to kind of show you how that works. But the bottom line is it basically shows how likely they are to recommend us to friends or colleagues. That's the whole point. And just to give you a background on these net promoter scores, while it seems like you'd want to, everybody would have a really high score. To be honest, everybody's really honest normally on these, and if they aren't going to recommend you they may like your service, but not enough to recommend you to somebody. The people will normally be very honest and like give you the rating I guess you quote deserve, right? And it's really hard. Really, really hard to get above a 60 on this thing. And so here's just an example scale of over 3,000 marketing agencies that did these just to pull their data. And this is actually the average of these general companies. And obviously your online business or your directory is probably going to be a little bit different. These are, hardcore brick and mortar services for the most part. But you see that department stores and computers and investment firms have the highest ones, but even they kind of stop at around 60. Nobody is in that excellent range of 70, the 7 to 10 average. In fact, most everybody kind of plateaus out at the high 30s, low 40s, and majority people are there. So in most terms, if you guys are ever doing this for a survey, if you get above that if you're in that 60 or above, or like even getting above in the 50s, you're like at the top of what most companies would normally get on these scores. And then, God help you if you're a cable or internet service company. Nobody is ever happy with you. You're going to get a 0 basically. So apologies if you're in that area. But so that's the average of what you're looking like, just as an aspect. So here's what mine came out to be. This is a Feedier output. So again, if you have that software, you can actually get this for any survey that you send out. It kind of converts it into a nice feedback form for you, or a view. So 78% had a good feeling, 18% neutral, and then apparently I upset one person there. They were not happy, and so I apologize if you're watching. Let me know what I can do to make you feel not like I beat you over the head there, angry. But overall, pretty good. So that's my net promoter score. It spit it out of the computer. I didn't do anything, so I'm at a 58.33, right? Which when I first glance it looks bad, but when you look at the scoring on how that does whatever that the math on that, I'm right up at that that top tier of what normal companies would see. I think the highest one on that other one I gave on average was a 62. So obviously some of them are, if that's an average, some are lower, some are higher. So obviously we got some work to do, and so if there's anything I can ever do to help you guys out or make these presentations a little better, let me know. But that's what I got. I just want to kind of show you that because I threw that first question out on the survey, and I had never done one of those before. I just want to kind of give some follow on for anybody who watched that feed your version to kind of show you what that looks like. So drum roll or not drum roll. Here's what came out of the survey. Just for, again, if you're watching either live or you weren't able to watch it live and you're watching the recording because you weren't able to watch it at Thursdays at 1:30. That's when we've been doing it for the past 4 or 5 months, and Thursday at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time, is when I'm doing it. So here's what the results came out when I asked what days are best for you to have webinars. And so again, this is the feed of your service that is able to do this. It just formats it and presents it to you, or you can do this for your client as well. Just auto formats it, which is really nice. So here's what that came out. So it looks like Thursday won, right? I mean, it's order of magnitude more than anybody else that I answered the survey. So I think we're good for Thursdays. That was the most popular time. And then here's the times of the day that work best for everybody. And the most selected answer was in that 1 to 3 time frame overall. So I'm actually surprised that it came out to be like that. But then again, I guess the people that come here a lot are available at that time and are used to the time. Maybe they just answered it because they're fine with the time that it was at. But it looks like that time frame works best for everybody. Thursdays at that 1:30 to 3:30 time. So what I may do is move it up a half hour. But then again, I didn't have half hours in the time frame. So maybe 1:30 was the most popular anyway. So I'm probably not going to touch it at all. It's about close enough to what the majority of people said was the best time. And then we'll just leave it as is. So after all of that, the surveying and my analysis there, I'm not doing anything. We'll keep it the same for everybody watching or the replays, because that seemingly is just the best for everybody watching. So again, thank you for everybody who filled out that survey on that. And just wanted to provide that data back to everybody in the group, in the community here. So onto the topic du jour for today, and that is customer support. Here's some stuff I want to go over on just why provide support solutions for your customers. Now, we talked in previous webinars about chat software and some other ways that we can provide chat bots or live chat services for your site. And I do have options available for that on Directory Toolkit as well. But this is more of a general discussion of why you want to provide support solutions, some sort of customer support for your people in your directory. And so I'm just going to kind of walk through these items here and kind of talk to each one of them. So the first one is that it relieves some of the burden on your customer support time, right? So everybody knows that time is money. Support for your product is costing you money if you have to repeat the same items over and over again. So if you're answering the same questions over and over again, or you're spending your time doing the same thing over and over again, you're wasting your time and then eventually money, right? Either yours or somebody that works for you. So I have, for example, I have a client management system for anybody that is a customer of me that I have with all my clients. And I've always explained that on a setup call. I've walked them through how it works, how to set it up, how to add comments or tasks in there and all that stuff. And I do that on the setup call. And now I normally don't charge for those setup calls, but I mean, what if I just recorded that once, made a video, or did a frequently asked questions on how to do that, or kind of a step-by-step process? And I didn't actually explain it on the phone call anymore. I just basically gave them the document or said, hey, here's the video. Well, I'm going to set you up with an account. If you have any questions, here's my email. Just go ahead and let me know. And I'm done at that point. And then it's on their time, not mine. That may make more sense. It may not, because then they can't ask questions live. So there's some benefits to both, but you just got to consider that for whatever your process is. And if you always give them a way to contact you later, that may be good enough for that particular item. So just think about that. It may relieve the burden on your customer support time and save you eventual money. Second thing, it actually improves the SEO on site navigation if you have frequently asked questions on your site or some other topic source, because adding top content about your topic or niche by telling them how to use their site, it's free, right? You do it once and it's always there. And then most answers on your FAQ probably already, exist somewhere else on your site anyway. So it makes it a nice aggregated way for them to go to one spot to get, obviously, their frequently asked questions answered. And that they might not be able to easily find otherwise. I see this a lot of people where they have a question about, what they're doing or what their service is. And then they tell me to go to a page and like, it's right there. It says right there that I do that. And I'm like, well, I didn't know that was there. I didn't find it. I couldn't find it. Or maybe I didn't want to take the time to find it. Your customers probably are not going to want to do that either. So think about, having that one frequently asked questions provides content for the page, but also allows them to get to your areas faster. And then, visitors are probably going to use your site menus to navigate through your site. But the frequently asked questions can also be a way to point them to where they need to go as well. So if they go to the frequently asked questions page first, find their question they're looking for, then you can point them to that big long page that details everything that you just showed me. But they got to it from the frequently asked page. There's a link from there to the page that has all the good details, and your frequently asked questions just kind of touch base on the quick and dirty of it, but then you can link to those other page. And what that does is that increases the time that they're on your site. So it increases your SEO value there. But it also creates those the link building basically on your own pages. And that's also important for search ranking factors. So the more time they're on your site, engaging, reading content, and getting the answers, the better on-page dwell time you're going to get from Google, and the higher value they're going to place in your site for the search results in the Google search results. The third thing it does, it's going to drive internal page views to other important pages, right? So you basically have it. It's basically the frequently asked page is like a lead magnet where you can actually steer them, questions into purchases. Let's say they have a question and they answer that hurdle to purchasing, and then now they're ready to buy. They're like, well, that's the only question I had. Now I'm ready to buy. You can push them to your sales page from the frequently asked questions, like at the bottom of that particular question page. If it's a service or a system where each frequently asked question maybe has its own page or section. And then you say, hey, it does this. And you're like, ready to do that for your site? Click here to buy. And then you shove them to the join page. And you basically answer the question and then ask them to buy. And so it's a great way to push them to other parts of your page. The next thing it can do is it can educate, inform, and guide the user to your intended goals. And we kind of just talked about that a little bit on the last comment there. But by providing that value and consideration to those pitfalls, you can actually guide them by your navigation topic or links to items that you want them to focus on instead. So, they not only can you educate them and inform them, but you can guide them in a natural way to the website's content towards the goals and end results you have set. So it doesn't have to necessarily be a join page. It could be, it could be other frequently asked questions pages. Let's say, a lot of people that have asked this question also want to know why they should do blah, 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 or XYZ. Or you can kind of bring the next page and almost make like a choose your own adventure storybook where you bring them deeper and deeper into your niche and your offerings. And so by the time they go from page to page, and you kind of lead them along questions. They're like, wow, I didn't know it could do that. And it's only this price. I'm sold. And then you go to the join page. So it can kind of not necessarily go to a one-stop join. It can actually string them along on an education, informative kind of just telling them about, that you know what you're talking about in that particular niche and genre. And so as you do that, the next thing it does is it actually removes those knowledge or informational and often trust barriers by having all that information. Because when you have those FAQs on a page, it basically shows your customers that you're invested in helping them find solutions, and that you're going to go out of your way to provide a resource that gives them a sense of trust for your brand. Because when you give them those comprehensive answers to just common questions, it demonstrates your thought leadership and authority in your industry, and it makes sure your visitors are more confident about doing business with you and your company because they're like, well, he knows everything about this thing. He's telling me about it for free. You kind of tell me, and I want to be part of this, or I want you, to use this company. And so the bottom line is that your customers and his pages or FAQs can help them break down the barriers, the no barriers, right, in their brain that they have in their mind and steer them to the yes to your product or service. And then by doing that, it does the next thing here where it showcases your expertise, trust, and authority within your niche. And so what I always tell people to do when you're doing these FAQs, try to not just provide answers about your company, because a lot of times they don't maybe care about your company. Honestly, they just want to know that their problem is going to be fixed, or maybe they just have a general question about your industry or maybe even your competitors. So providing answers to these types of questions can actually bring in the people who may not even know about your company, because your frequently asked questions is almost set up like a Google response. Like if they search for something, they just want an answer or a question answered about that particular subject. And they might not even know about your directory because Google's, finding that good content, linking there. And that's the first page that they actually show up on is your FAQ. And so now that they're answering that search query on your site, they can then, again, if you go to educate and inform or remove those barriers or informing them about what you offer inside of the FAQs, they can then realize that you do have a product, that you are the exact solution that they were looking for. And they may buy from you, maybe that because they just got to the FAQ page, they didn't actually enter from your main page. So that's always something to consider and think about as well when you're crafting the pages. And the next thing it does is when you do that, when you provide that increased, improved user experience, it's actually going to reduce your churn for your directory, your membership. Because when it comes down to it, let's face it, you're basically a SaaS. You're basically a software as a service. It's not yours. It's BD, but you're basically reselling that. You're selling a membership, a service. And so if you can help them get to the end goal, if you can help them get leads or help them learn something about that you're providing a service, it may just be knowledge service. They may just value your expertise and be willing to have a membership and just keep doing that because you're offering something of value to them, even if it wasn't the leads you originally promised. Who knows? So think about that. If you're delighting your customers by answering questions before they ask, it's going to make it a smoother process. They're either going to buy from you or not leave because they can find stuff that they need. Because, let's be honest, no matter how clear and well organized your site is, they're probably going to have a few pages or a few questions they're going to want answered. If they can't find it, they may get frustrated, especially if they can't figure out how to contact you. And then they think it's just a dead page. It's not really live. There's really a person there. Having that FAQ and that easy way to contact you makes them realize that there's somebody there that cares, is going to answer the question, and is going to be that conduit to solve the problem in that niche that only you can provide. And that's what those FAQs allow you to do. And finally, not finally, I got two more actually. So it then proactively prevents customer complaints and negative reviews. Because if you're not available to your customers to answer the questions via another support forum, the FAQ can at least help alleviate some of that immediate pain your customer is feeling and maybe prevent them from having immediate complaints or negative reviews. Because you know how some people are, if they can't find the answer, if they're in a bad mood and you're not providing that question for them, they're immediately going to the forum or their niche or bad-mouthing you to somebody else that they know, and it's hard to recover from that. So if you provide that stuff and are proactively providing that stuff and you have stuff to kind of answer those hot topic points, the questions that always get asked that maybe you're not there right now to immediately answer for them because you're away, you're not here, it's a weekend or whatever, they're going to have happier customers and you're going to get better reviews because of that. And then finally, it's going to cultivate that loyal following to get referrals, testimonials, and reviews. because people not only they want answers, but they don't want to get support elsewhere if you're going to provide that stuff for them. And they're actually going to be grateful that you provided that good feedback and provided that information, so much so they're going to give you good reviews, give you a testimonial. And I'm going to show you an example of that here in a second for my use case. But you're going to have other people come to you because people say this to me, where I'm just not able to get a response from anybody else, or they seem to be too busy for me. They won't even reply back to my email, or it seems like I'm just a number on their list of people. I don't even feel like they are aware of me as a client. I get those all the time. So if you're answering their questions, you have a way to contact them, you're providing stuff for them, they're going to be happy about that as well. And then the bonus one is not even on the slide here, but I want to throw this out there just because these are up and coming things that this will help you out with. Obviously, voice searches and just specific featured snippet stuff on Google, like specific asking and answering questions are becoming huge. You ask Alexa for a question like, why is the sky blue, right? And if you have a snippet or an actual FAQ on your site that says, why is the sky blue? And you have a very detailed answer about that, you're going to be, once you format those correctly, you can actually get in those Google answers or even those kind of things as an answer potentially as those develop for them to find your website content and do that. Google has those featured snippets where they actually kind of pull out content from sites and that answer questions. So when somebody types in, why is the sky blue? Your content, if it's formatted good and it answers the question and is very popular and people stay there a lot, it's actually, you may get some of those featured snippets in Google. So it's obviously very in its infancy that a lot of that stuff's changing, but the more content you have on there that you can kind of start adding some of the formatting in there as that gets fleshed out, you're going to be able to get that organic content without you actually paying anything going forward, or at least have it set up, even if you had to pay for some of that, where you're set up to kind of use your content instead. So those are some 9 or plus the bonus. There are 10 things that why providing support can help you out for your directory. And so this is kind of the testimonial stuff I was talking about. So these are just some examples of stuff that has been in the forum, on the BD sites or online. And I didn't ask for any of this stuff. It's just people put stuff in there when you help them out. And word of mouth is better than any advertising you see. And some of these guys are pretty funny. Graham said that I actually recovered the golden fleece. Everybody's, giving shout outs or whatever, recommending you. I'll give a shout out to Lewis, one of the other developers here in the BD ecosphere. He was joking around that I was helping everybody out, that I actually, I have, I don't know even how high that number is, a bajillion years of marketing and SEO experience. And that when Google was founded, I explained to them how to do SEO. So everybody's joking about that, right? But when people put comments like this, they're happy. They get answers. You provide feedback. You answer them back. They have answers to the questions. They're going to give those testimonials to you guys, to you on whatever particular forum, niche, community, business group that you're in. And to be honest, that process and that customer service, it's going to be worth more than any marketing stuff that you guys do on your service, all because you're providing those frequently asked questions. You're helping solve their immediate pain points for their particular business, and they're gonna give you shout outs. So so I'm going to use BD as an example. They got a really good support system. So for anybody watching here, if you have not gone here and availed yourself of those, please go here and find the questions that you need help. They have probably one of the better in-depth support resources out there for any businesses. So go there and you can find a majority of your questions answered right here from the Brilliant Directories company themselves. And so I just have a screenshot here. You can kind of see they have, not only do they have the forum, but they have multiple venues to contact them or get information. So you see there's a solution center, there's a forum, they have the week, every other week webinars where they have the replays. You can get the marketplace to, hire somebody like me or somebody else to help you customize your site. They have the Facebook group, and then they have this FAQ section. So a myriad of ways to contact them to get the support you need. And that's what makes a good community, a good customer support oriented business. You can call them, right? You can submit a ticket, right? So I can't even, there's one, do it on your own forum for other people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then there's a phone numbers, 8, right? They have 8 different ways to provide solutions. So if you cannot find a way to get your job done or to get your questions answered, then this is not the system for you, because it's right there for the taking for you. So please use that. But this is a great example of some capability. So next I want to go into the frequently asked question best practices. So if you are going to do a frequently asked question site for your directory, here's some of the things that I recommend that you do. The first thing is reflect your audience needs. So obviously you want to use data to maybe find your most common questions either on the web or competitor sites, or just from your own experience, what people are asking you for. So it should address the most common questions that people in your genre or your directory have about your product, services, or brand as a whole, not what other people put on their frequently asked questions. Don't just copy and paste it. It doesn't apply. So always use it for your industry. But the best way to identify those questions is to tap even into your own data or what other people are answering. And if you had that same question yourself, or you see competitors answering that question, well, then grab that, add a similar content on yours. If you use a help desk service or anything like that, sometimes they have tagging features to allow, different VAs, if they're doing your customer support, or people on your team, that you tag inquiries coming in, so you can kind of see which questions are coming in most often, so you can kind of make a frequently asked question off from the support tickets that are coming in. Most of us are solopreneurs, or not at that point where we have like tickets or support systems, and so it's more relying on just your experience. But bottom line is reflect your audience needs. Don't copy it. Use it to answer the pain points or frequently asked questions for your niche. So here's some quick wins using BD capabilities, and I'm going to roll over to that in case anybody needs to jump off as I'm going here. At least you can get some of the easy free stuff here that you can use within BD. They do have a new drag and drop FAQ section inside of BD, and I'm going to show you that in a second. And then there's also, I do have an example in my directory toolkit there. You just have to do keyword FAQ. I do have a script there that you can add your own keyword FAQs as a drop down that I have available for you guys to copy the code if you want to use that one for your use as well. So you can just go to directorytoolkit.com and search FAQ. And I'm actually going to do that real quick here. I'm going to open that up in the background. There we go. And so I'll show you where that's at, and then I'll go in the back end of BD and show you the drag and drop FAQ. So if you search for FAQ on Directory Toolkit, it's going to come up with this is the software we're going to talk about today that I have available as well for $45 a month. It'll be cheaper for you guys on the webinar today if you want to avail yourselves of that, but that's the FAQ software. If you guys go to the articles here, right here, it's adding a drop-down FAQ element to a directory page. And if you guys browse to that, I have a full detailed thing on how to add that code in here, but it looks like this, where you can basically add some FAQ sections to your page, and I detail the code there in process on how to do that. In BD, they actually have some drag and drop FAQ content. So this is fairly new. It's literally a week old. If you go to edit web pages or whatever page that is already there, if you have an existing page and you just want to hit edit, you can do that. I'm just going to go ahead and make a new web page just to kind of show you where this functionality is at. After you make the page, they now on the right hand side they have this new draggable content block section. So if you just click on that to lower it, it has drag and drop content available, and all the way at the bottom is one that's called an FAQ module. So you literally this one is uber easy. You literally just drag and drop it over there, and it'll auto put in the tables and the frequently asked questions already set up for you. You can literally hit save, and it doesn't have all the Gucci drop downs or other tabs or anything. It's literally just a box with it, the questions and answers. But this may suffice for your directory or your needs. You literally just type in, highlight that, go question 1, change change that to whatever you want, and then change the text here, save it, and then you've got your question and answer box. So it can't get much easier than that. Doesn't have a lot of extra functionality, but it does have the easy drag and drop use for your pages. So again, recommend, and you can add that into any page existing. You'll just drop it in any location you want. So highly recommend doing that if you guys want to use that. So there's a couple quick wins using the BD FAQ section or some directory toolkit code as well. There's some other developers that have some plugins. I know Yakin from Brilliant Directory, or I'm sorry, Business Labs. I couldn't think of that. Business Labs. He's got a plugin for that where you can add in your questions and answers, and it'll auto make the tabs and the actual stuff on the front end for you, just with a plugin that's right in your BD directory. So that is also an option. So all sorts of options for frequently asked questions. The second thing, best practice is for FAQs to organize your FAQ the way that's right for your niche. So not only do you want to reflect the questions, you want to organize it the way that makes sense, right? So don't necessarily go off from somebody else's answers, but also don't categorize it like somebody else's. Don't feel like you have to have all of the categories or make it as complex as somebody else, because it may not apply to your niche. And I just want to use this as an example. This is Microsoft, right? Microsoft, for their Office products, this is literally what their frequently asked questions page looks like. It has Windows and Office with a plus menu so you can drop it down. So if Microsoft has it that simple or that few of options, you probably don't need 25 particular categories. Maybe you do, but I'm just showing you a large company, and they've got other ways to do it. Obviously, they have support systems. People are probably calling it. They're probably not. They're even looking in their Office thing inside of Windows or Office as opposed to even on their webpage. So it kind of reflects on how much people are using it on their site potentially, but it doesn't have to be Gucci. It needs to reflect your particular niche that makes sense to you. So the biggest thing on a category, though, I guess the tip I would throw out there, if your FAQ page has more than 10 entries, I'd probably add categories to make it easier for people to find what they're looking for. So not all of them look the same. You may consider having them all on a single page. Again, if you have more than 10, you could probably put them in categories. That's my recommendation, but up to you. But just make sure it makes makes sense for your particular genre. The other item I would probably do as well is sometimes the search can be tricky. You want people to be able to find it easy. So when you're doing that, make sure that they don't have to sift through a bunch of different categories or menus to find what they want. Make sure that they have nice brief titles in your post titles and your writing. If it's a big long page of content, you want to break it down into paragraphs that they can easily find either through a thing at the top where he clicks to go to a different section, header like a table of contents or whatever, or they can just browse down and see a table header and know kind of where to go. Just don't have a big laundry list of content on the page. Nobody's going to ever read that. You want to have it chunked down into content that people can read, and that's what I would always recommend. So make it simple, make it for your niche, and then make sure that they can find the content easy. And then I kind of already talked about this for the BD site, but and it goes without saying a little bit, but make sure you include multiple support channels, and that's another best practice. Don't just have it as FAQ. Don't just have it as one item. You want to have multiple options. I showed you Brilliant Directory says 8 on there, and so here's just an example about including multiple support channels. You can have any or all of these or a combination thereof, right? FAQ, chatbots, live chat, a telephone number, a widget that has them add their phone number, and then you call them back when you're available. Email, social media. Maybe you can respond to people in Facebook queries. Maybe you have text messaging, SMS service. Maybe you do video tutorials and you kind of have a help section with video. So there's a myriad of services that do any of these. We offer a lot on Directory Toolkit, so you could look at. Or just there's other stuff, third-party stuff, or just use the systems inside of BD themselves to provide some of these. Obviously, if you have the VIP add-ons, you have the Messenger, Facebook Messenger bot that's on there. You can do FAQs. We just showed you that. It has a telephone number. It has an email or a contact us form, right, built in right to your directory. So just think about these things. is the best for your particular niche or genre, or what you're able or willing to support, and pick the ones. And the bottom line is give people a way to ask their questions, to solve their problems, and they're going to go with you, vice somebody else. Next best practice is keep the design so it doesn't read like a textbook or user manual. I kind of talked about this, but the bottom line is you want it to be engaging. FAQs are boring enough, right? Just think about a help manual, right? For some are, if they have pictures and they're easy to follow, you're going to do that. How many people have actually opened up the big, long text user manual, even in your car, right? That explains everything under the sun, but you just can't find it because it's just so complicated, or just text. Nobody's going to read all that. So you need to do this. You need to think about the same thing for your FAQ. So here's a couple design suggestions for your FAQ to be engaging. The first thing is, write clear and concise pages. In terms of FAQ pages, normally people think the more the merrier on those, but it's really a fallacy on that, right? Actually, less is better, because too much text can end up being too confusing. You cause readers to have to search for the answers they need. So rather than writing long and eloquent paragraphs, it's best to be straightforward, right? Very brief, provide the answers they need. You're not getting a Pulitzer Prize, right, for writing a big long paragraph. They want their answer answered, and they want to move on. So give them the answer straight away with less content, and they're going to be happier customers. The next thing you can do is just obviously make sure you regularly update each page. So it's important that every FAQ page is always not only accurate, but if you have an organization or it faces a lot of updates or launches, your FAQ pages should reflect those changes as well. So just factor that in when you're thinking about how many you're making or how complicated you're going to make it, because obviously in BD even has this problem sometimes where they have so much content and there's so much variability, and it can do so many things, and they have so many help sites that as soon as something goes, old or whatever, they don't necessarily update it right away, and you're reading it and you're like, this doesn't even look like the back end, or this isn't the process anymore. So you want to make sure they have a way to update that. And obviously, even they have an easy way to contact them if it's wrong. You just let them know that it's out of date, and they're very good about updating those and pushing on a new update. So as long as people have a way to tell you that it's wrong, as long as you're proactive in doing it when the people point that out, or that you can find a majority of them, that's going to be good enough. The third thing is provide a way to report inaccuracies. I kind of skipped ahead there, but do that. Provides trust that you're not just going to sit there and they're not all out of date. You want to make sure that they have a tendency to trust the site when you know that you're gonna be changing it. And then if they tell you to update it, send them a thanks, give them a kickback coupon, do something for them to show, hey, thanks for doing that. We updated it. Here's the new link with the new process. Let us know if we can do anything else. So always provide that feedback. The next thing you can do is include a search bar. The great thing about a BD directory or another service like the one I'm going to show you today is if it does deep search inside of the actual content, again, just like Google is providing some accuracies there or advantages when you have additional content. If you turn that VIP add-ons for the deep keyword search, you have some stuff in a FAQ article buried in your BD directory. If somebody searches for that word in your directory anywhere, and you have that turned on, it's going to find that FAQ article and provide it to them, and they're going to go straight to that page. So very powerful search available on your BD site, and I implore you to turn that on if you have the VIPs available, and that's that deep keyword search, and it will find anything just by looking for a word. And then you also want to organize questions by category. We kind of already talked about this already, but it is a best practice to make it just flow better. It can be tedious, obviously, to have it in a random order and frustrating. You want to have it grouped by specific topics, and just makes it easier to find. I won't belabor that one. You think everybody gets that. The next thing you want to do is link to top questions. So a lot of times you may have a lot of content in there, but you don't want to bury the stuff. Even if you have a lot of content in there, you don't want to bury the stuff that everybody asks for. I think Frank once said this when I was like, when you have frequently asked questions, it's frequently asked questions. I don't want to need something so narrow that you're just bragging about how complete your FAQ section is because you detailed the sub process of one particular feature on your directory. Not everybody's asking that question. It's not a frequently asked question. So never hide those in there. You want to kind of have an area where you're linking the top questions so everybody can find the ones that are most often used. And then the next thing is stick to the basics, right? Stick to the basics on that. You don't want to get too complicated by having too much stuff on there. You may want to lighten it up by having fun colors, themes, or humor. You may want to do that, right? And it may be effective for your organization as branding. But just realize that people are not on your FAQ page to be entertained for the most part, right? They're looking for an answer to the question. So sometimes I feel like, on some FAQ sections, they spend more time making it witty than they do answering my question. I get done when they're like, did I answer your question? And I have to say, no, you spent, all your time putting, sarcastic wit into your answer instead of actually giving me the answer. So spend time critiquing and adding the content in there, making it to the point rather than putting funny stuff on there or different color themes. Stick to the basics, answer the questions, and people are going to be happier. And then the last one there is if it's not frequently, I keep jumping around here, frequently asked questions. If it's not frequently asked, then it probably isn't frequently asked. So I'll give an example of this on Shopify, right? I'm going to do this live, so hopefully they didn't remove this here. Shopify.com, everybody I think knows Shopify. They have over 500,000 businesses in 175 companies, right? 500,000 businesses, 175 countries. More than 1.2 million people use Shopify every day. And if you go to the Shopify FAQ on their website, they have exactly 12 questions on their frequently asked question page. So I just use this example. You don't have to get too Gucci on this stuff to have for your genre, but realize 500,000 businesses, 175 companies, over 1 million people use it every day, and they have 12 questions on their FAQ page. So I just use it as an example. You can do a lot of stuff on here, but it doesn't have to be, right? If it's a really good service, people just want to know the frequently asked questions, and that's their frequently asked questions page, right? They have a whole nother system for user manual, right? If you're going to use their product, they've got walkthroughs and demos and for people who are using it. But if you're a customer, just want a frequently asked questions, you want the frequently asked questions. You don't want to do the user manual. So you may have to parse those out or have a system that's able to do that for you. And that's how you kind of want to have it set up. So those are some of the best practice about engagement and how you can help out. So the next best practice is that you want to make it easily accessible on any web page. So a lot of times people will add that link to the FAQ page in their main navigation bar. So no matter where they're at on the site, either mobile or on desktop, they can go directly to their page if they need help. So that's always a good practice for that. Make it accessible on every page. And then the next thing you want to do is you want to monitor the performance, right? So, maybe there's some problems that are affecting your customer base. Maybe some questions have come up. And if you're not going back to your frequently asked questions and looking at what you're providing often, you may be missing some of the latest questions or some stuff that has come up recently that you're just missing on there. So go look at that and say, whoa, I had no idea that I didn't have X, Y, or Z on there. People are asking me that. I forgot I didn't have that in there originally. Then go add that, right? Because people are asking for that recently, or maybe a new question that you want to put on there. So make sure you monitor the performance of what people are asking for, searching for, or if you're getting stuff asked recently that's not in there, go ahead and add that back in there. And then the last thing you want to do, just for the best practice, is update that content and solutions over time. So again, not only do you want to add that in there, maybe some questions, maybe you don't offer something anymore. Maybe you change your product offering. Maybe you change your pricing. Maybe you change your links, right, to how you have your site set up. So always go back in there, call it, make sure it's just kind of rotate through there once in a while, pick one and go through it. If your system has a way to say when it's latest updated, just go through there. And if you see one that you haven't updated or it hasn't said is updated in a while, go back through there, update it just to make sure you have the content. And again, it's just to avoid that instance that we talked about earlier where there's inaccurate content that forces people to say, hey, this stuff is not relevant. And so if we talk about all these things, the best practices and what we need, I'm going to actually go over a system here in a little bit here called Malcolm. And it basically is a frequently asked questions survey software. It also does forms and workflow and basically provides a system where you can easily add and do everything that we talked about in there today of monitoring, adding, updating, having frequently asked questions. You can show hot topics. People can reply back to you. You can get a sense of what people are doing and then integrate that into your directory. I'm going to show you Malcolm here in a little bit. And let me just do a demo on my site here before I kind of open it up about frequently asked questions in general, and then I'll go into the discussion of that software for the next segment. So here's an example of my directory toolkit site. I have it in a couple different areas on the website. Let me just go to the main page here and just show you what you'd see if you go to my page. So if you notice on the actual main page here, you may notice this need help off to the side. So Malcolm has the ability to add it in as a button or as a side widget or as a link off from your page, and can embed stuff in there. So let me just show you what it looks like off from the side. So it says, hey, need help. If anybody clicks on that, it actually pops out with a little answer here. They can search for, yeah. Sorry about that. Let me go back here. This will be a bad demo if my BD site goes down in the middle of the webinar here. I guess BD doesn't like me doing my demo here. I'll come back to that. That's not good. I'll try to figure that out. Anyway, what it does, it has a sidebar pop out from the side. It has a pop out from a button, or I had an FAQ section on my actual site. And so let's refresh this here, see if the actual server's down. And sometimes this happens. I just want to let people know that sometimes, obviously, there's stuff outside of their control. It's gone down twice, probably in the last year. It's always been something catastrophic, like an entire backbone is down, or like a construction company cut fiber cable from an entire area. So it looks like they're having some issues right now on the back end as well. So unfortunately, I'm going to not be able to show you some stuff on there as well. But I'll just go back here. So this was already loaded. What that basically loads is a sidebar, and they can actually pop out the answer inside of the pop out here. You can kind of see that it's answered right here, or they can search on the actual site to find a question as well. And they can also do it by keyword, etc. So a lot of different functionalities right there. Search by categories, etc. So there's kind of a quick demo on there, and the page is already loaded. You can do the same thing on the button, except that's just going to open it up embedded inside of the page. Or you can actually go to another website that has the full FAQ section in it. So here's an example of what it would look like. And again, it's set up for the Malcolm setup here, where each question has its own page, but you can also set it up for a search where you can deep search inside of there. You can browse for a particular category or a tag, or you can go to the ones that are recently added, recently viewed, trending topics, the people that have voted on questions being most helpful or the most popular based on the number of times people have read those frequently asked questions or visited. So very powerful system in here, set up for your frequently asked questions, and you can continually add content in here. And I just added this as a demo on how to connect a live domain name to your BD site and have all the steps, processes, including images, on how to do that and set it up for your particular site. So very dynamic system. And then you can have people rate it, whether they liked it or not, and kind of see which ones you maybe need to redo or to highlight. And it also has a great feature where they can email the answer. So let's say they're like, I want to read this later. I'm going to type in, I'll just type in my support at directorytoolkit.com. So again, if you have any questions, you can email me there. But let's say you want to email that answer, you can actually send it to yourself or another person. It'll actually send that, it'll now be in your inbox with that exact formatting. So you can go over that later and store that however you want as an email. So a lot of cool things that this can do for you. Let me just stop there. Sometimes there's not any questions there, but any questions from anybody on the FAQ section there, Rich, Brad?
Man, you covered everything. I had a couple questions written down, and then you just covered everything.
Okay, great. So let me. So those are some options for you. And again, I'm just going to go into the software real quick. Obviously, you may people watching may not be interested in the actual software, but maybe you will be at a future point. So I'm just going to go over it for everybody here, or you can watch the replay and kind of get an idea of what this software can do. So I already kind of demoed it real quickly, but the cool thing about it is it allows you to create your content, right? You can create a frequently asked questions section. You can build a workflow, so you can actually have forms in there and people can ask questions, or you can have follow-up content in there. So let's say you are given an example of a frequently asked questions, like how you set your site up, like that question I had about adding your domain live. And let's say you have something at the back. Let's say, hey, do you have further questions about how to set up your domain? Submit a form or ask a question. And you can actually send it to a forum, and they can give them their name, email, kind of do like a lead management thing, and start a workflow of people asking the question. You can kind of get data. Let's say you have a question on you do logo design, and you add that in there and say, hey, here's some stuff on how to make a great logo, or things to think about when you're telling your developer on asking to do a logo. And then at the bottom of the form it says, hey, are you looking to do a logo? Let us know what you're interested in and let us make a custom form for you. So you could actually put a form right in there that asks for their name, email, maybe some sample uploads of files, maybe their logo, or their genre, some examples of stuff that they like, just some other content. And then you can start a workflow that's kind of built right into your FAQ with some forms. And it allows you to upload, resources or do other content and get some answers for forms as well. So it's very, very friendly in creating their content. And the other thing it does is it's not just static content like you could do with the script I gave or that drag and drop stuff from BD. It also allows you to surface your content of what people want or from what people find popular. So you can embed that right in your website or your directory, make it seamless, have that extra content, but make that facilitate those features in your directory. You can change that look and feel. As you saw on mine, it kind of had my color scheme. You can do whatever you want. And then you can set it up on your own custom domain as well. So you can have it be, faq.directorytoolkit.com, have it as your own custom domain that's kind of inside your own thing. And so it has a lot of feature sets that allows you to do. So if you get this software, it's very versatile. It allows you to have unlimited FAQs and articles. So as many FAQs and articles as you want. That means you can have as many embeddable FAQs as you want, as many items that you want to add to your pages. So it's not restricted to just 30 or something like some platforms. It's unlimited. So it can grow with you as you grow your directory. It also has unlimited workflows and forms for the stuff I'm going to offer today. So you can have as many forms as you want inside of your directory. The BD directory forms, it has the contact forms, but it doesn't allow you to add any, upload any files. So this allows you to have that, you could make a registration form, a survey, claim form, feedback form, satisfaction survey, some of that stuff that you could do on Feedier, not exactly the same, not as powerful in terms of the reporting or the capabilities that Feedier is in terms of surveys, but it does allow you to do those out of some templates, and I'll show you that here in a second. And so what it allows you to do when you go into the system here for Malcolm, it allows you to have 3 different options. When you go to make a question, it wants to know, or for the workflow and form, it has you start from scratch. For the workflow, you can choose a template. So you can pick one of those things on the sidebar that I kind of showed. Hey, are you doing feedback? Are you doing a sign-up form? Whatever, you can have a template, or you can just clone one that you've already done. So if you kind of already have a setup, you can clone it and then just kind of tweak the new flow as you go. And so here's some of the templates that you can do. We kind of talked about that. You can do an application form for a job. If you have some VAs that you're kind of doing stuff for, you can do a booking form. It doesn't have any like calendar integrations, but you can at least have somebody book a time if you don't have one of those services. Claim form, contact form, you can invoice upload. So you can have them send you an invoice, right, or a work order. You can provide feedback, newsletter sign up, registration, onboarding, you name it, survey. It has templates built in where you don't have to build that stuff from scratch. It also has custom embeds for the questions and forms. So I kind of showed you that one here. There's another example of what it would look like with multiple questions. It also says how many people found that useful, right? You can turn that on, and so they can immediately have feedback. Wow, 94% of other people found that this answers their question. So you can have a widget, an overlay, an inline embed inside of a page. So you can just put you can actually put a question inside of a page. So let's say, can I put videos in my FAQs? If you have a thing on videos, you can actually embed that one question by itself inline inside of a videos page, and it just shows up in that embed right there. But it's also in your frequently asked questions software in your sidebar search thing as well. So it kind of does both for you. It has that built-in natural language search that we talked about. So you can, if somebody types in, is there a minimum wage for students or in hostels, or do hotels have restaurant facilities? Whatever that natural language thing is, it's going to find the right question here for the Malcolm search engine. And it's going to find the questions for them based off from tags, categories, the content. So it's kind of very versatile, kind of like the BD site in terms of searching and functionality. It just is able to find that stuff off from the natural language search. It also has the complete branding built in. So here's a bunch of examples here. I have a bunch on my directory toolkit site as well, but any look that you want for your directory, you can make it as the same exact color scheme, your images, and it make it look like it's seamless with your directory. So very complete branding control of your frequently asked sections. So I'm going to do a demo here in a second on the back end here for you, but just for today, special only for anybody watching this or the replay, the first come, first serve on this one for the discount coupon codes. I'll go into Malcolm pricing here in a second. I'll actually go to their page and show it. It's actually a British company. These are their pricing per month. It's £30. 99 pounds and 199 pounds, which equates to about $40 to $260 a month for their service, because it's very dynamic. It has a lot of capability and it's pretty awesome service, but it's a very expensive one in terms of the FAQ software. But as you can see, even for the $260 a month, it only gives you 10 workflows and 100 FAQ articles. Because I'm a reseller and I am able to get that discount for you guys off the normal pricing for $45 a month from Directory Toolkit. I can give you the same login, your own system inside of Malcolm, but for $45 a month, you're going to get unlimited FAQs and unlimited workflows through me. And you can kind of compare that to the real world pricing for that. And then so today only for the first two people that want to get this for the discount code Malcolm10, Malcolm-10. You can get that for $35 a month for life, obviously until you cancel, for that system to have that available for your business and your directory. And again, it's on directorytoolkit.com/Malcolm, or just keyword Malcolm, and I'll show you where that's at if my directory toolkit is back up. I'll show you where that's at right now. I'll click that link and see if that's working again. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and just show you the Malcolm pricing and the normal the back end stuff for that. Okay, so it's live again. Just type in, you can type in Directory Toolkit Malcolm, it'll find it. Here it is. I have a bunch of screenshots. Here's a couple of different examples. I do have 10 slots available, again, 2 only for that reduced pricing. And let's go compare the pricing here real quick. I'll just show you. I don't make these prices up. These are real websites, real capability. You can kind of see the pricing here for the micro team and Team Plus. That is the pricing for the unlimited stuff there for the Team Plus. I'm sorry, there. And I actually may have that wrong, so I have to go change that if that is unlimited for the $199. Let me go check that. So I apologize. Let me go back there real quick. I don't want to. Oh, you know what I did? I updated it. I just my slides wrong. So, so it is unlimited. That's the same plan. I apologize. So, for that $45 a month, we'll get you that $260 a month level. Basically, anything above that 100 there would give you the better value. But so $45 a month is what we're going to be able to do. And let me just log in real quick. I'm going to show you the back end, and feel free to jump in here. Anybody watching today with the questions, and I can kind of walk you through here. I'm just going to kind of show you how feature rich the back end is here for you guys, and this is what it'll look like when you guys log in. Give me a second for my stuff to load. Any immediate questions, I guess, while I'm loading this?
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah. What's up, Rich?
Did have a question. You mentioned earlier about the enabling, a search, under the FAQ, whatever, but where it can search the site. But if they type in a phrase or a word, how does it delineate that it's searching the FAQ page as opposed to all the other content on the site?
Well, it's not, right, and so that's the point of having this one where it's maybe off the side, or they're searching their FAQ. So, for example, if I go to mine, let's say you have some page content that's just FAQ page that you're doing on your BD site, or you have FAQ, right? If I type in the word FAQ in my search, it's going to find everything that has the word FAQ in it, right?
Yeah, but I got the tab there already.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not gonna. It's only gonna find it based on the categories that are in BD. It's either gonna be a product, an article, right? So here's my FAQ element, right? So there's that. It found that, but it's not gonna just only provide that particular thing, unless again you can replicate the articles post type and make a FAQ articles post type, and then put that search widget that only works for that post type, and then search in there, and then that's going to find that. Does that make sense? So let me go to the article, for example. Let's say this was a replicated article post type. When I go to, it would say FAQ article search. If I typed in, some sort of, query here, it would find it. But the problem with this is the keyword is not natural language search for this. Like even if I type in FAQ and I type in something else random like cookies or something, right. It's going to search for FAQ cookies, and it's going to say it's not going to find. I don't think it's not going to find anything, because it does and it's not like an or. So it's going to look for I didn't find anything. It says FAQ cookies. It's not looking for FAQ and or cookies, right?
Right.
So there's some limitations to that, obviously, and then so like for this one, if I type in how to add a live domain, and search for that, it's going to find that, right?
Right.
Because it has the natural language search as opposed to some of these other ones. And that's kind of a perfect example of natural language search, but it's not. This is basically a keyword, it's not a natural language search, unfortunately.
Okay.
So here, let me just go into the let's start in the FAQ section just to kind of show you guys how that works. So here's the question I have in the demo. I'm just going to add a frequently asked question in here. You just click on that. So you type in what's the question. So let's say how do you add an FAQ to a directory? Right. You can give it. This is a brief question or answer. So you say very easy. This is the full answer, and again, you can format it however you want to add different elements in there, and then you would then go to the configuration next. So after you answer the question, right? It has some configuration settings, so you can change, kind of like BD does, where you can change the exact friendly URL here. So it does a very good job, again, of the Google friendly SEO thing. So it actually added my entire question as dashes. So how dash do you add an FAQ to a directory? So that's very mobile friendly for Google search, or you can change it to whatever you want. You can copy it to the clipboard and just paste it to somebody real quick if you want that. You can add tags to each particular one to help aid searching. So here's some popular choices. So you literally like, domain and setup. It adds it in there. You can add your own. You can also change who the author is. So you can have, Directory Toolkit as the author. It's real easy to add those back in there. You can have it for different, particular people answering the question too. You can also, have the date there of when you entered it. So if you want to have the date on there, sometimes you just don't want to have that. And then you can also provide a feedback form on there that's enabled. So you can say, if people say that they're not happy or didn't answer the question, like I said, then it can give them to a feedback form. And like, if it didn't answer your question, what is your question? Let me answer your question. And so it provides that feedback form, and then that send by email form, which I demoed earlier. It allows you to send any particular answer to an email just by clicking the send to email function. The next section is the categorization. So you can actually choose the categories. Again, this so when you go to the actual FAQ section here for the page, this would be the actual categories right here. So you can say, hey, domain and setup, you can set that up for the particular question. Next, for the visibility, you can do visibility sections. So you can make it in search results and on search engines. You can make it not available to the search engines. Now, I don't know why you'd want to do that, but you can. Basically, the no follow, basically. And then you can determine whether, again, depending on whether this is most helpful or popular, if you want to not have the system determine that for you, but you automatically want that to be included in the most helpful, you can basically manually turn that on, that's in that particular category for people. And then you can also password protect it. So let's say it's something that an answer or a resource that somebody only has access to. You can password protect it, kind of like your BD directory, where you can lock it down for any particular thing or set it as private. And then the next thing is publishing. It also has the capability to do review stuff. So let's say you have a VA person adding questions. You can actually set up a publishing setting where they make the question or answer, and then they have to submit it to you for review. And it basically has a draft pending and kind of reject process here. It goes back to the person, the VA or whoever's doing it for you. And then it goes to an approved. And then maybe even if it's approved, you kind of publish it once you gloss it over. Maybe somebody kind of does the final publishing after it's approved, and then they publish it. So it has a built-in review process. Again, that's in the that top tier plan only. That we're able to get for everybody. So it has entire publishing options. It also has version control. So the cool thing about this is that every time that you edit it, it has different versions. So it has like you can revert back to any particular version control that you had. So let's say you change something momentarily. Let's say you have a promotion and you have a pricing page or something. You want to have a temporary thing. Maybe you can change the data on here for your temporary stuff. And then when your promotion's over, you simply go back and you revert back to that previous version. And so it allows you to go publish additional versions. Here, it'll tell you, the approval process, who's approved it or where it's waiting. So it does that. If it's rejected, it kind of showed you that on who rejected it and when, kind of reapprove it. And then it has a publishing schedule as well on when it's going to appear. So if you want to publish it at a certain time or to go live or not go live at pre-configured dates or times, you can actually set it up that those things are turned on or turned off after your promotion's over, et cetera. So it's very flexible in terms of doing that. And then you can kind of just see an overall history of all of those things and filter on conditions on where that's at. And then the final thing for the FAQ is it has an embed section, and you can go ahead and create it. So here's where I talked about you can overlay a widget, an overlay, an inline, or a full page. So let's say you want to do inline inside of a paragraph. You would click that. You can give it the embedded name. So I'll just say inline, and let's say this was our video page. So of what I just talked about there. And then after you do that, now it has entire options for the embed code. So you can have blended mode where it basically it seamlessly integrates into your content. So it basically makes the background transparent and adjusts the height and automatically fits any particular section that it's embedded into. So it kind of dynamically does it as opposed to having its own style. So very flexible, unlike some other systems that kind of squashes it or makes it a certain size. This one, if you turn blended mode on, it literally will fit it into the box that you provide for it. Then you can turn on the title, that you can change the title. Again, how can we help? Or you can change that or turn that off. You can enable the search bar, so you can search your actual FAQs inside of that actual widget or turn that off. You can turn on the simple navigation in terms of getting some easy content or turn that on or off. And then you can do pagination. So each FAQ can actually have multiple pages. So you can kind of scroll through step 1, next page, step 2. And so you can turn, if you set that up in the answer as having pages, you can turn on or off that pagination. And then in the URL roles, you can hide specific content. So if you have a specific rule and the embed code, you can actually enter particular secondary URLs or staging sites, again, to have it live on a subdomain or some other very contoured URL stuff there in terms of adding rule types where it'll show it or not show it based on the URL. So let's say you want to show it on all sites. that have the word video in it, but you don't want to show in sites that have the word article in it. You can turn it on or off based on URL parameters. So again, very configurable there. For the visibility, you can show it or not show it on visibility, and you can show or hide it at specific times. So let's say that you wanted to show that article inline on your video page only on evenings when you're not available, but during the day when you want them to call you, you want it to disappear and just go away. So you can turn on or off by time and or by specific days as well. So again, very flexible. Publishing, again, you can unpublish, publish, or you can kind of set it up and basically turn that off and just have it all ready to go, and then just publish it again. So you can kind of turn the embed on or off, and then see a full history of that particular thing. So hopefully you guys can see there, it's very, very flexible in terms of the setup. And then once you're done, you literally can preview it and then just get the code here. It gives you the div code to add into your BD site, the script to go ahead and put in the head tag, and then that's it. And you just embed it right into your BD site, and it's good to go. And as you can tell, I've got it working on my site, and that it works good with different avenues of executing that. Any questions on the FAQs or stuff? A lot of deep functions on there. And again, this is why it does cost normally a lot of money, because it has a ton of functionality. And just realize as you build this out, everyone has its own embed. Every FAQ can have its own URL rules, and so you can keep adding the stuff and just really make some really dynamic content that's not really inside of your BD site normally, just by using this, and keep adding stuff as you go. The next section is the workflow. So this is the form modules that I talked about. Here's a file upload one, and I'll just can make an example of that. But you just go create workflow. Let's choose a template. Kind of already showed you this. Let's say invoice upload. We'll just do this one real quick. So we'll do that, and we'll start building that one out for the invoice upload. So now we have our form, and again, it's using this template here. So what would you like on this page? You can include the title, include the page by default. So now it says, here's your purchase order number, your company name, your supplier ID. So it kind of already has this stuff set up. If you don't want that supplier ID, you just go ahead and remove that field. It gets rid of that. Everything else is just drag and drop, easy. Here's all of them, or you can kind of go down by address, choice, or whatever. So let's say all of them. Let's say you want a currency amount in there. Or let's say a date. You want to add that in there. You literally just drag that into the bottom here to turn it on. It'll add that date form in there, and probably, there we go. There we go. So you drag it in there to add that in there, and again, if you want in a different spot, you just drag it into the spot you want and drop it in there. It's all drag and drop. Inside of here, you can edit that particular section, and each one of these has its own settings. So here's the title, description, default value, placeholder text, kind of like the forms in BD. You can have a validation message to say whether, if it doesn't have a date there, tooltip descriptions. You have it mandatory, read only, hidden, and then you can have filters as well. So let's say, depending on what it is, you can have different filters based on what it is. You can have different things happen. You can set up validators where it's like greater than or less than a certain date. So again, each one's going to have its own validators depending on which field type you have. And you can set up on rules. So let's say if that is equal to like Friday, right? If that's equal to Friday, then I want to move them to a particular page, and I want them to go to this particular page. So you can set up a rule based on each different field type on what you want it to do, either inside of the form or in other pages, and that's per field type, and it's very complex rules stuff built into there. So very, very powerful system. And so as you can see here, it has content, date, email, number, phone number, also upload. So here's a multi-file upload. So let's say you want to add a multiple file upload, you just drag that in there, and now it has the multi-file upload. Again, you can add in different filters or validators on here, and rule sets based on whether if it's empty, then you want them to do something, et cetera, et cetera. And then it'll just upload that to your file system in here, and then you can go ahead and get those files once people submit it. So, and then it has a thank you page that you can send them to there, and that's just the built-in part. So now for the configuration, it's kind of like the other FAQs as well. You can change the theme of the name. You can choose a theme of the actual form. You can send your email. So it's got an email flow where you can email the answers to you or other people and email the actual answers in that workflow. You can do other integrations with other systems. So it's got Zapier integration, MailChimp, whatever. Let's say you want to add it to your Dropbox. As soon as people upload the form, it will add that file to your Dropbox thing. You can basically integrate that with a bunch of different things. So whatever they do in the form, it can then trigger something else. It also has webhooks in there if you have a system that can utilize those. Visibility and publishing, again, exactly like the other FAQ sections. Also has form versioning as well there, so you can revert back to the form, do all the rejections, scheduling, turn the form on, turn the form off like we just showed. And then same thing on the embedding. You can actually set up an embed for the workflow and add that particular form into your BD site. And I think I had an example here. There it is, of what it looks like as an example of the file upload. I don't know if I took this off or not. I should have checked this ahead of time. If I still have this file upload form in here, it was a generic one. This one I did the other day. But it just loads. There you go. So it loads it inside of the BD directory. So here's my file upload form. Again, you can do multi-page FAQs or multi-page forms. So again, some people always like to have those multi-page forms. This allows you to do that. So I enter my first name, last name, and then my email address. Here's my personal one. Add that in there. Just go to next. And again, it's all embedded in line inside of your BD form, and it will go to the next page, right? So here's my drag and drop. I would then just drag and drop an image in there. Let me just go grab something real quick. So here's my saved chat from my last Zoom meeting I had. It's uploaded that in there. It says upload complete, and then you just submit it. So again, it's right embedded in your page. You can change colors, format, number of pages, and you can have unlimited number of these forms and embed that in your site. The next section is media. So this just kind of this is where you can add for your FAQs or your different content that you're adding in there for your site. You can have a folder and all sorts of media content that you can kind of add and embed in there for your direct or your FAQs. This is the branding page where you can change all of the header, footer, branding, colors, and all that stuff. Here's one, and you can again have multiple themes and switch between those for different websites or whatever that you may want to do as well. So you kind of set all that up in here, and it's pretty self-explanatory once you go in there. But again, it's very, very detailed per thing, per the header, the feature boxes, the results, the promos that you do, the footer, FAQ, everything's set up in here to choose and change your brand around. And then settings, you can have enable display, different things, and visibility. Again, just some general settings for your account. And then you can set up, it has WordPress plugin built in. So if you use WordPress as well, it doesn't have to be a BD. If you use WordPress, you can host it in there or embed those forms and just different setup to do that. And then I talked to you about the workflow as well. You can also set up different team members. So if you have a VA that you want to have different features for, let me have a test user here that you can set up privileges for. You can then set up per person, individual, and they can have access to the FAQs or only approval or only change the categories or only allow deletion of workflows or creation, but not submission. Basically anything in your entire site, branding, media management, settings, sharing, and then obviously billing. You normally don't want because that's yours, and obviously I take care of the billing for you if you get the cheaper price for me. But that's how that works, and you can invite people and do different things for different team members. So very powerful system set up in there for the Malcolm site system. And then again, it's available now on the directory toolkit in there if you guys want to do that. Getting close to the time for the 2 hours for today. I actually have a meeting after this for today. So I guess anybody that's still on the horn here, any questions on that? I actually haven't turned on the audio visual for today, so let me do that. Any questions on FAQs or that software? Anything from anybody, or any last minute questions about the site or issues for today that I can answer?
I don't have any questions, but that Malcolm sure is neat. I'll have to look into it more look into getting it when I'm ready.
Yeah, and again, for most things, obviously, maybe you don't need it right away, but it's there, and it's a good resource if you get to that point. And I think usually people don't do things because it's not easy to do. When it's that easy to make the frequently asked questions and to answer that, I'm going to start adding it into mine and keep building it out. And again, it's one of those things too that it's hard, especially for FAQs, to add on a ton at a time. It actually is probably better to start adding them in a little bit at a time and just keep building the knowledge base and data stuff in there. And the more you do it over time, the less daunting it is, and then the more resources you have for your people over time. So don't be afraid of slowly growing that one too, because it does have it gives you that long tail on the SEO content as well for Google and stuff to find your stuff. The longer it is in there, so if you can get past the hump of the desert 6-month Google thing as well, that's always beneficial.
Oh, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, when there's a new page or new content in Google, it doesn't even pay attention to you for 6 months because it doesn't know if you're going to be around next week, and so it kind of puts you in the sandbox is what they call it for 6 months. Even if they know your site's there, they just won't even give it in the search results because they can't, I guess, quote, trust your site yet. So the more the faster or the longer you have the content up there, the better it potentially will be.
Okay. Well, thanks for this webinar, man.
Yeah, no problem, brother. Thank you. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. Rich, you got anything else for you?
Yeah, just a quick kind of unrelated question here.
Sure.
I was making some notes, but on I know we have a Twitter feed for our members and their profile, but like on our podcaster directory, and on our Pro Business channel and our GPS site, whatever, is there a way to add like a Twitter feed directly like on our homepage so that it kind of keeps content fresh?
For your particular for your directory?
Yeah, like on the homepage of the directory. Is there a widget or an add-on or a
Yeah, it's just going to be the same widget. And so let me Rich's question here is you want to put something on here that has the content. So you don't have to go into a listing, right, to find somebody else's Facebook feed. You want your Twitter feed to be on your page, right?
Or our directory.
Yeah. So here's one I did as an example. You know how that have that the Instagram thing on the listings. They wanted theirs for their particular one for these offroadloans.com on their main page. So we did that exactly for them. It's just static. It doesn't change, but they've got their Instagram feed on the main page for it to dynamically add as they update their Instagram stuff. It's just on their main page. So you can do the same thing for your Instagram or your Facebook feed or Twitter. The only thing that you're limited to is the actual feed that you're providing. So the problem with Twitter and Facebook feed, it doesn't have the full width option. It limits it to like, I don't know, 270 or something wide. What does that sidebar look? That's as big as you can get that Facebook one to be. So not necessarily a showstopper, but it means it's not going to be full width like that. Maybe you have it, after on a sidebar where it has a couple videos and then it's in a sidebar, so it's half the page, right? But it's in one section here, and it kind of shows your feed there. But it does have that limitation, so I just want to throw that out there. But like say here, maybe instead of the video, it has your Twitter feed. You could put it right there, and that's about how wide it is.
Okay, yeah. Instead of where that box is at,
or you could have, we could have a new one where we just have your Twitter feed and your Facebook feed, and a new section is just Twitter and then Facebook. You could do that.
Yeah, because we like to have it on the homepage, and we're active on all the channel, all the platforms. But the pain with Instagram is you have to use it from your phone. You can't do any posting on your laptop. So, what I like,
you can.
Really? How do you?
I talked about this. We actually offer this up on Directory Toolkit, and again, it's a service, but it's not. You have to have something that does it. So to answer your question, it's not natively. You don't natively do that. But like this system here, this Publer that I offer here, this system it's a desktop service. You do that, you post it from your desktop, it'll push it to Instagram for you without using your phone. So it does do that automatically through a desktop parameter.
Oh, it does. Well, because on our member profiles, that's pretty handy. Like I just click on a member profile, and then we can post directly from there to Twitter, LinkedIn, I think Facebook, whatever. But there's not an Instagram. So you're saying we can add the Instagram.
Well, what this does is it's a social media posting platform. So you can watch. Actually, I don't have the video up here. I think it's a webinar you missed. See which one it is.
Link or put that link in the chat here, whatever.
Yeah, I'm gonna I'll just go to directoryvideos.com and let me see what number this was, and I have to parse out the Publer section here. Obviously, I normally go at the end of the segment there, so you can find it in there. But let me
directoryvideos.com.
Yeah. And so I have all the webinars in there. I normally parse out the actual shorter items, but it is in webinar number 14. So right here, the social media keys to success. That's a video that you want to go watch. And I go over the Publer system here. But what it does is it basically logs in. You log in as this, and it allows you to post to Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Google My Business, Pinterest, and then soon to come, Rike and YouTube. But you can basically, change your post at specific times, put different images for different social media platforms.
Yeah, we use a service like that, like Buffer or whatever. But what I'm saying is to get an image, but to get like an image on Instagram,
that's what I'm saying. You can add an image in there. It'll push the image to Instagram for you.
Huh. Okay.
So there's only a few that do that. They just actually got that turned on as well, but it does now do that.
But back to the question. So like on our homepage, because I know we have it'll create on a member page, but our homepage we can insert a feed that will populate in real time our Facebook and Twitter updates.
Right. Well, you're not posting it from it
just pulls.
When you go into this listing, for example, it's going to have the Twitter. You're talking about the Twitter feed and the stuff in the sidebar, right? Like this.
Yeah, but in the sidebar, but that's for that particular member.
Right.
But we can. Is there a widget we can add our Podcast Directory Twitter feed on our homepage?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I originally said. You can just manually code that in there, and it'll just be this
right
for your your site on your homepage. It's always the same. It just stays there.
Okay, that'll work.
I'm just saying. I thought you were saying you could post. I thought you were saying you post it to. It's not gonna post anything through BDC. It's just gonna show what's in there in the file.
Yeah, but in the feed,
the feed, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was the main thing. I had a couple other questions about, trying to create a pop-up like on our homepage for a newsletter sign up. And I think I did see something under Brain Directories, like because our newsletter, we moved the option to the very bottom of the page. So I wanted to create.
Well, that does have a pop-up now. If you click on that, it does do a pop-up where it used to not do that. So it does have a pop-up.
Yeah. But what I want to do is have that as a when people first go to the site, is it'll automatically pop up like a pop-up window, while they're at the home page for the first 10 seconds or so.
Yeah, that's hard. It's hard to do. It does have a modal pop-up lightboxing in BD, but it gets very annoying when that pops up every time for somebody, and then it gets very convoluted. If you want to, it has that capability to do that, and I've got a way to do that because somebody wanted to add that in there. But it gets a lot harder when you want to say and then turn off after 10 seconds.
Right.
And then don't show up if they go there again, because now you're getting into cookies and you got to store that stuff and pull it out, and it gets infinitely more convoluted there. And then I'd almost always tell people to use a third party tooltip or pop up service if you're going to do that. That would be my recommendation, because it's just not built into BD to do that effectively.
Yeah, we used on Pro Business. We use not MailChimp, but it's something similar to that. That's a pop-up service. But so the other final question is, at the very top of the site, just to keep it simple, we can put, how do we add? I was trying to work on it today. If you go to the very top where it has contact and member login, can't we just add on our homepage there if you sign out, I guess, or log out. But we can add, I think we used to have a little text in there, subscribe or join our email or whatever, sign up for email newsletter.
I don't think so, but I mean, yeah, you can easily add that right there, easy. Yeah.
How do we go about doing that?
I don't think it's ever in there. You have to add that in there because it's you're gonna have to add the code to do the pop up in there too. So I can. Is that what you wanted to do? I can do that for you. You just want to say join newsletter and then do that when you click on it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we can get there.
Cool.
So
because we were getting a good number of subscribers, and it dropped off quite a bit, because especially on mobile, that's the first thing they'll see. And if they're not ready to join, much like myself, if I go to a website and I'm not ready to take action, but I want to get on their list just to keep in touch, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm actually, I have a meeting I got to roll to now. So, thanks guys for joining. I'll sign off there for everybody that's watching Recording Lands. Again, thank you for joining. Go ahead and again, directoryvideos.com. If you want to see the replay on here, I also normally add this to the Directory Toolkit video as well once I pull it off from YouTube. And go ahead and subscribe on YouTube if you want to get these videos. Obviously, join in person. Otherwise, go ahead and you can get that recording and subscribe there as well. So, again, thanks, guys, for